About here.
So, guys, ministry's hard, right?
You're really starting now?
Yeah, we started, man. Ministry's hard. So, obviously, Pastor Jamie's not here. What's so funny? Listen, I don't get it. I don't get what's funny. It's a serious moment. It's Pastor Johnny over here.
This ain't no serious
This is
moment.
Pastor Johnny. This is Pastor Simeon.
Pastor Joseph.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. We are here hanging out. Pastor is having some opportunity to spend some time with his family out of town. And so we're taking advantage of it to talk about a culture of honor, right?
Yep.
We all have unique experiences here. Pastor Simeon is one of the longest tenured staff members here outside of Pastor Tony and Miss Maddie. Johnny right there behind him, Pastor Johnny, and both have unique experiences. I'm not as tenured as these guys, but I've had the privilege of knowing Pastor and having him play a role in my life for about 10 years now. And so when you
He's been a mentor, like you've kind of been in that mentor relationship for most of that time, right? Like
Yeah.
you've leaned on him and he's poured into you. And even
Yeah.
though you haven't been on staff, you've still been closely connected, and
Absolutely.
he's been pouring into your life, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, man. And we see moments like Sunday, right? For us, I don't know when you're going to be watching this, but on Easter Sunday, Pastor Johnny made a post. It was a picture of Pastor Jamie and JD3,
Yeah.
had some heartfelt words.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Where does that type of honor come from?
Well, I think it starts with the day. So it's Easter Sunday. I'm speaking at Aynor as the campus pastor, and I get to preach there. It's a big moment, and usually that moment is reserved for the guy.
Mhm.
But in this occasion, in this moment, I just was reflecting, on it, and I said, man, I think about everything I've been through, everything that Pastor Jamie has poured into me, and us, the moments we've shared together, and I wanted people to realize where that came from, because there's the sermon part of it, and I always tell people, like, in the sermon part of it, that's Pastor Jamie there. A lot of who I am is because of Pastor Jamie.
Yeah.
And he was gracious enough to let all the campus pastors on such a big day take the pulpit, which he didn't have to do.
Correct.
I wish he wouldn't have. I wish he would have done it, because I just think he's that incredible.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure that I know how I feel about him. I wanted the campus to know. I wanted all my friends and family to know from my perspective what he means to me, because that photo was taken, at a family event, later that day. So he was just hanging out with my son. I've gone to his Meemaw's house for 6 years now.
So family event, a Pastor Jamie's family event.
Yeah.
To where now your family.
I was there before Pastor was to the event, so
right.
he's coming in. I'm like, hey, welcome, come on in. Like that's just how it's been for us. And so I wanted people to see that. I wanted him to feel that publicly, like that's how I feel, and this is how I feel behind closed doors. Is like, man, this guy means the world to me, and he's a father for me. So
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I honored him, because it's not just about, the ministry side of things, but just as a person, he means that much to me in my life, where he's B-Paul to JD3. And, I put on there, like when I'm at my worst, he's been there. When I've been at my best, we've celebrated. When I have bombed a sermon and had to work through moments of how to preach, he's been there. And when I've preached my best, he's been there to cheer me on.
Yeah.
So, like, he has seen both sides of it, and he's never left me. He's always been right beside me. Like, we've walked through some really dark moments in my life. And a lot of times people would, distance themselves or run from it, but he's embraced me as a whole person. And so as a father, as my senior pastor, as a friend, as a comrade in ministry, I wanted everyone to know, as much people as I have influence with, I want them to know how I truly feel about them. So that's where that post came from.
Man, it's such an interesting concept because, I think we could go around. I love my dad. I know we were just talking here before the podcast started. How influential, incredible your dad is. You've always talked about how awesome your dad is, and so it's not one of those scenarios where we lacked this father figure in our lives, and he kind of took on that role. And there's moments that takes place, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But there's this spiritual note to it, of this spiritual parenthood that he takes on in our lives. He's more than just our pastor. He's more than just our boss. There's an extra layer to it. Sim is someone who's walked this out for over 10 years now, and you've said this. You've come as a young man, a young boy in some ways, and grew into manhood, being a husband now, and all those things. What's that like for you?
Yeah, so many layers to this. We could talk about this for hours, to be honest. For me, I came here when I was 22. Like you said, I have a dad who, at the time, like, we had started, rebuilding a healthy part to our relationship, and now my dad's one of my best friends in the whole world,
same.
And I'm very thankful for that relationship. I talk to him multiple times a week and talk to my mom too, and but there was this topic gonna make me emotional, so if I get emotional, but there's been kind of the same note to what Pastor Johnny said. When somebody walks through dark seasons of your life with you, when somebody holds you accountable, and when I first came here, I knew Pastor Jamie as the goofy guy from youth camp who he was my friend, and I had to learn to allow him to be my pastor, my spiritual leader, and somebody who holds me accountable in that way. And for me, that took a little bit of time, but once I allowed that to happen, I mean, my relationship with him, even as my spiritual leader, like in my life, my pastor or whatever you want to call it, it was so much healthier because I allowed him to have that voice in my life. And for me, I mean, for the last 10 years, we've walked through a lot of life.
Yeah.
I mean, hell and back, personally, have watched him struggle through things, losing his father, and and being able to be a part of life with that, and he has, like Pastor Johnny said, he's stuck with me through.
He's a loyal
the
dog.
good.
Is what
He is a
right?
loyal dog, and when he shouldn't have been at times, and it is. He's spoken into my life and spoken things over me, and spoken to dreams and to vision, and has pulled things out of me that I didn't know I had, And when you have somebody in your life that isn't your father, Pastor Jamie doesn't owe me anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he doesn't owe us anything. Like, he could have fired all of us,
Yeah.
A few times.
and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But because of the God in him, because of the anointing, the calling, the way God has ordained him to be, he has, instead of pushing us away, he's pulled us in and called us sons and called us,
he called us things that we weren't worthy at.
And we weren't worthy of,
Yeah.
and he's put us in places that we didn't deserve.
Yeah.
And it's easy to honor somebody that has been the person that he is in my life, and I've seen him be for you guys, and I've seen him be for other people that we're close with. It is easy to honor somebody like that. For me, it is not. And it's so much more than words. It's so much more than how you treat him to his face.
Yeah.
And it's so much more than just. It's more than even being able to go to his family's house and do those things. Like, I've been at Meemaw's house too, and I'm thankful for all the food that. But honoring him there's so many layers to it, and I hope we can dive into more of it today, but I don't want to take up. I could talk about it literally for hours,
No, I like hearing all these perspectives, because same thing with myself. We alluded to this at the beginning, where I was pastoring a church. I desired this. I was seeking after mentorship. There were people that I pursued that didn't entertain me. They
Yeah.
you know, they were always busy, or they wouldn't return my calls, or I had to talk to their secretary, or whatever the case may be. And I had a privilege to go to the Collide conference at the Calvary Christian Center in Florida, Jim Raley's conference, and Josh Carter was there preaching a seminar, or a moment, a session. And the session that he was preaching about was spiritual sons pursuing spiritual fathers. And Pastor Jamie was somebody, like you said, from youth camp. I knew him as the guy in the Tim Tebow jersey. I knew him as the guy reffing basketball games and doing
Throwing you out.
balloonograms and calling me out, pulling me out, snatching me out of games and stuff. Like I didn't. He was an incredible person that you watch from afar, but he was not somebody I would call intimate friendship or anything. He was a colleague, he was somebody I respected. I was sitting in my home one day crying out to God about why won't anyone? I'm desiring this. I'm not saying, Lord, I know it all. And I want to change the world. I want somebody to come teach me.
I need help.
Where's it at?
Yeah.
And the Spirit of the Lord spoke to me and said, Jamie Barfield. And I paused. I said, Jamie Barfield, like the unique guy at youth camp. Like we didn't have a similar style of ministry at the time. I was like, how is this? What in the world? But it stirred, and so I knew it was the voice of God. I was in the laundry room, and so I called him. I said, this is going to sound crazy. I'm going to send you a file. I want you to listen to the sermon. It was a 47-minute sermon. And I want you to call me and let's have a conversation. 48 minutes later, he called me. And I was like, whoa, He was like, hey, so what is it? What is it? And I don't know what this means. I told him what I felt like the Lord spoke to me. He said, okay, where does this start? Text messages, a phone call a week or whatever. And it developed to, man, I want to come see how you lead your staff. I want to come be a part of what God's doing here. If we had some off days, traveling here to be a part of church, it became a point to where, like you said, I love my family. My family's involved in everything that happens in my life, but he was that next call. It was, hey, Orion died, I'm calling Pastor Jamie. It was, hey, this is happening in my life, I'm calling Pastor Jamie. Hey, Monday I want to quit, talk me off the ledge. You know what I mean? It was, he became those things, and to then come here and be a part of this and see, all right, everybody's waiting for the shoe to drop. Okay, now we're going to see him behind closed doors. And you're like, it's the same guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Even I love him even more so as a father figure now, seeing how he operates in all these ways. And we all have these stories that we could take up the duration of the time to talk through. But how does it play out? Like, what does honor play out? It plays out for me. I can see it in your ministry very easily because worship is what you do. It's who God's created you to be. It's a gifting and anointing upon your life. We tell you all the time, I can sing a song, Johnny can sing a song, Simmy can sing a song. You're going to get a different experience because of the giftedness that the Lord's placed on you. And Pastor Jamie speaks to those things over you.
Yeah.
I've seen you work. I've seen you pour your life into things, and you're so gifted and so talented. But I've also seen him come into a moment and say, hey, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And we're going to scrap all of that. I've never seen you throw a fit. And I'm sure there's moments where you have conversations, but I've seen honor manifest where you're like, okay, we make the change.
Yeah. It's, there's that trust factor in especially in this relationship within ministry when you're working so close with somebody hand in hand. Our ministries are, on a Sunday morning are right next to each other, and I truly, I've always said this about worship, but worship helps plow the ground. It tills the soil and it prepares the way for the word of the Lord. And so I know that that he has a vision, and I honor his vision, and I honor the man of the house, the person, not just the man that I know and love. Like I love the man Jamie Barfield as my friend, as somebody who I've known for a lot more than the time I've worked here, and I love that person. I love his family, like they're my family. But I also love and honor the gift that's been gifted to Palmetto Pointe Church and the pastor and the bishop of this house. And I know that my role is to support that man and the visionary. And so for me, when I learned that, when I allowed that to set into me as a person and get my ego out the way, the ego that was there, it's real easy when he walks into the room for me and he gives me directive or says, hey, do this. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
When you know that it's about the house, it's about the vision, and it's about what God's trying to do and what he's trying to say, and he's using this person that you know and love and who's walked with you through seasons of life. Like, there's a lot of history there, and so for me, as history's gone on, it just is so much easier to trust that this is about this is ministry. This is about what God's wanting to do. And even though this is something I plan, it's all right. Like,
Yeah.
it's no big deal.
So Johnny, I want you to jump in here because I love this conversation, and there's this part of the conversation where easily somebody watching this could say, man, pastor's out of town, they're on staff, he set them up to have this conversation, or whatever the case may be. But then you go watch our church operate. You go watch every ministry operate. You go watch our ministry honor the leadership that they have that is not Pastor Jamie. It's a cultural thing. And you have a big hand in this in leadership development to where we have a session on the culture of honor, but it starts in a very deeper place to where it manifests in all of our ministries in all of these areas. What would you say to that? How do you create that culture of honor?
I mean, it starts with you, I think, and you can't replicate something if it's not in you.
Yeah.
So until you learn to honor the pastor, whichever, if it's this ministry here or another ministry somewhere else, until you can honor yourself, you're not going to be able to impart that in other people. So everything I do, though, I look through it through the lens of the culture and vision of Palmetto Pointe Church.
Yeah.
So whether it is leadership development, whether it is young adults, whether it is the campus at Aynor, whatever it is, I see it through that lens. And then when I'm operating those things, I have to understand I'm a steward of those things. They're not mine. And this is, at the end of the day, it's God. The vision's been given to our pastor, and it's look at it through the lens of this is like a child for him. Like he cares that much about it. And so if he cares that much about it, then I should take that much care in curating the culture. What do I say? The way I talk about things. How am I reacting to certain things that are taking place? What do my actions say? So what do people see me actually doing? When I have moments to either, because church world's not perfect. So if there's something going on behind closed doors, that there is some static, some friction, things that are being sorted out, am I able to honor as those things are manifesting, as we're working things out, in the public eye. And so I think it starts with me, but outwardly into those ministries that are touched by whatever you do, you have to be very careful about how you talk about things. Every word has to be intentional. Sometimes even when I say something, I'll correct myself in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
In a conversation with somebody, in a meeting, and you can attest to this. It's not just in public; it's in private practice.
Yeah.
When I'm in a meeting with Pastor Joseph, when we're having an oversight meeting, and I say something that may not be cultural as far as even the pronouns we use, I will then fix it right there and say, no, that's not how it needs to be said. It needs to be said like this, because I know whatever I say there is then going to be translated out in the public, and I want them to catch that as well. And so from everything I do, I'm very intentional about it, and I think about almost, what would Jesus do? What would Pastor Jamie do here in this moment?
I was gonna say kind of exactly what you said at the end. Like, what would this is who Pastor is to us.
Yeah.
Like, he honors us, and he is he's the king of honoring people and celebrating people, and that's I truly believe that all flows from a place and a heart of honor and wanting to honor the people. He honors me, he honors all of us, and when he's having conversation, I've heard him on the phone, and talking about each of us and saying, especially with like church people and things like that, and talking about, somebody with my team and calling me Pastor Simeon on the phone, or talking to them, and and protecting us and guarding us, and and all those things. That's who he is, and so it's it just makes it when he is that for us and around all of us, and not just us three, but all of the staff. It's awesome.
I think if I know we're privileged that there are ministries that watch this at times, and I would say Johnny said something that it convicts me to this day. It's something that I pray through on a daily. We had a conversation about this yesterday. If you're a pastor out there and you say, man, I want a culture of honor in my church. I want people to talk about me the way those guys are talking about Pastor Jamie. I want that. Then to Pastor Johnny's point and to Pastor Simeon's point, it's a posture. It starts with us. It starts with you, because I have found myself in times being frustrated with like denominational leadership. And sure, there may have been some legitimacy to my frustration.
Sure.
But vocalizing those frustrations out in public, around other ministers, at times in front of other people in the church, and if that's how the people that I lead see me, honor or not honor or dishonor the leaders that are over me, I can't then expect them to reciprocate that in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the reason it's so easy to honor Pastor Jamie, on top of the things he's done for us personally and been for us personally, is, to your point, honor is a outflowing of his heart. It is who he is, and I will gladly stand and defend that man. I've watched him fall on swords that were my swords.
Yeah, same.
I've watched
Quite a
him
few.
take licks that were definitely mine, and so then now I'm at a place where I don't want him to have to deal with any of those conversations.
Yeah.
Because I have watched it be a consistent practice in his life, and so I agree. It truly starts with us.
Yeah, and I want to make sure people don't think this is like brown nosing or, whatever. Like, there's times where we get offended.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's
No
times where
doubt.
we
Oh,
get
yeah, for
upset.
sure.
There's times where there's legitimacy to why I feel the way I feel. But what brings me back is to the relationship that I have, with him or anybody who I like, because I honor you guys in conversations, and not just Pastor Jamie. I have a level of honor for the people I work with, the people I serve with.
Yes.
It's interwoven in what we do, but it doesn't mean that people aren't going to frustrate me. Doesn't mean that Pastor Jamie's not. There's many a times where we have conversations with him, and because of how he's holding us accountable or whatever it is, there's that little thing in us that will rise up that says, like what, like why is this happening? Like what? Like I don't like this, and so we have to balance that out and say, okay, this guy really cares about me, really loves me, so I've got to work through whatever this fleshly emotion. When I say flesh, that natural emotion that you have,
Yeah.
because that's normal, but you've got to work through that stuff, and so that is kind of like a caution for me. Like, yeah, you're hearing all the good stuff right now. There's going to come times, though, in conversations with whether it's Pastor Jamie or one of your leaders or somebody where you're not going to like what they have to say. And there may be some dialogue that has to happen, but it doesn't mean that you still can't honor that person in the midst of all that stuff happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Pastor Simeon, you've helped us out a lot with that. What's your famous line? Anytime he's getting frustrated, you might have to clean it up for the pod, but I mean,
Yeah,
what?
yeah. I've said quite a few things, but
Get mad and get over it.
Yeah, get mad, get over it. I go to Lowe's, buy a ladder, and get over it.
Yeah.
I always say get pre-mad.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get frustrated now.
Yeah.
And walk into this meeting. He's already warned you. It's gonna be you might get your toes stepped on. Well, go ahead, get mad now. Get over it, move on. Get pre-mad is kind of what I say pretty
Right.
much.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get pre-mad, get over it, and move on. Because I've had to learn that lesson. When I came here, I was a 22-year-old hothead that had a lot of stuff that I needed to fix and work on. And thankfully, the Lord's helped me. I still got stuff I need to work on, but
We all do.
thankfully the Lord's helped me a lot, and Pastor Jamie's helped me a lot. But I mean, yeah, me and Pastor have had some frustrating fellowship over the years,
Yeah.
and I've frustrated him, and he's frustrated me. But that doesn't like Johnny said. He loves me. I know he loves me. He has proven that to
Correct.
me, and I know that anytime he challenges me, or what I feel like is a challenge, is for my betterment. And once I realize that, it makes hard conversations easier, because I just know that when I feel that little fight inside of me to want to get mad, or get frustrated, or that little ego rise up, I just know that that's myself, my flesh or whatever, fighting against growth.
Yeah.
And fighting against the change that I need to make. And so, the honor that we have for Pastor is not just for for me, honor is not. It doesn't have to be earned, but it can be earned. And so for me, honor has to be given and freely given from us.
Mm-hmm.
And but pastor is also, even though he is deserving of honor no matter what, because of the role and the position that God's placed him in, he's also earned honor in
Mm-hmm.
our lives because of the role that he's played in our lives.
Yeah.
Which is why I think the culture of honor is so significant, because I think we would all agree unanimously, everybody on staff, all of our leaders, everybody would say, "Oh yeah, we honor Pastor Jamie."
Yeah.
Not a doubt in our mind. You'd be hard pressed to get a tough situation about our pastor between all the layers of people
Yeah.
that love and protect him because of who he is to our lives. But once it starts getting into the roots of who we are as a ministry, I think back to things that I didn't even know were inside of me. And
Yeah.
we talk about this a lot now, glowingly. In the moments, it wasn't so joyous, but there was a season of ministry here. I came here to serve Pastor Jamie. I came here to fulfill this calling on my life that I felt was connected to this man. And then 6 months in, he comes to me and says, "Hey, Johnny Kilman's going to be your boss now. You're going to vet your conversations through him.
Yeah.
You're going to come in and have these conversations." And I think I'm a humble guy. I try to be. I feel like, that I'm a very self-aware person. I try to be as humble as possible. I found out very quickly when that happened whether I had honor or not.
Yeah.
And in the moment, I did.
Yeah.
I was frustrated. I had to make intentional decisions, and it wasn't nothing against Johnny. It was, I came here for you. I love you. I love him, but I love you. But then I was like, wait a minute. If I honor him, I'm going to honor him
Mm-hmm.
because the Lord's placed him in this position.
Yeah.
And so it started out with an iced coffee. I'm going to break the ice, literally. I'm going to buy you an iced coffee. Then he gave me about 100,000 tasks on a task list, and I almost had a stroke. But no, we worked through that. It exposed some things in me that I had to prayerfully consider, because now we all have people that fall under our leadership
Yeah.
that we want them to honor us. We
Mhm.
want them to trust us, and we have the example to follow.
Yeah.
And so now we're in this weird place where now he's a campus pastor, and there are moments that I have to have accountability conversations to him, and I look back to that season of, had I mishandled this to the point of where it could have been when original emotions felt, this could be impossible,
Mhm.
And then I love even in moments when we do the things as a ministry where, okay, today we're doing this for the worship situation. Simeon, you're in charge.
Mhm.
We all have different roles and different lives, but there are moments, Simeon's in charge. Yes, sir. What do you need from me, bud? What can I do for you? Hey, Johnny's running this thing for volunteers. So, hey, Johnny, what are we doing? Tell us what we need. Pastor Johnny, what we need. It begins to get in us. It begins to get into the culture. And I think that's a beautiful thing about our ministry.
Yeah.
How do you cultivate that? How do you take that from pastor to the staff to our leaders to the people, that they see that that's who we are?
I mean, I've known Simeon for 11 years. One of my best friends.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. When I'm with the people, I want them to see that I honor him.
Yeah.
Because he's easily Simeon to me.
Yeah.
But in what I do,
Yeah.
and who I am, and what I want them to see him as, I want them to see him as Pastor Simeon.
That's right.
I want them to see him for who he is to this body, what he could do for your life. And so it's that, again, back to intentionality of when I'm around people, what am I saying? What am I doing? Do those situations I find myself in are they going to produce honor, or are they going to make it more easy for people to see the situation or whatever with the way just like culture does,
Mhm.
the way everyone else would view a pastor or view a ministry leader, or just view people in general. How people can be like vile, easily hurt people,
Mhm.
offend people
Yeah.
easily. They don't care about who people are. They don't care about their souls. And so I want people to see that it's different here inside the church.
Amen.
And so how I talk about leaders, how I talk about people I serve alongside of, how I verbalize those situations where there is accountability, Like all that stuff has to be done in an honoring way, in a righteous way, in a Christian way, because I want them to see what has been deposited inside of me, and I want their lives to be better because of anything that I can give them in those situations. So I think it's just it's I don't think it's an overnight process like that.
No.
I mean, Pastor Jamie's had this ministry's 17, 18 years now.
Yeah.
And it didn't start like that.
Mm-hmm.
There were even when I got here, 6 years ago, there were conversations, things, culture things that we're still trying to change.
Yeah.
Things that we want to see better, and so that's an ongoing process. But I think it starts with every conversation you have and those little things. It's not big swooping changes that happen automatically. It's okay. How are you, like, what are you saying in these conversations here?
Yeah.
Are they leading to honor? Are they leading to positive thought processes about volunteers, leaders, and the visionaries of the house? Or are they pushing people away to not allowing people to want people to speak in their lives? Because honestly, the allowing someone to have access in your life will unlock certain things in your life as well.
Yeah.
So you've got to let people see the amount of access you're allowing somebody to have in your life and what that has unlocked in you, so that they say, I want to give that person access in my life as well, because I want some of that stuff unlocked in me as well.
Honor does not eliminate conflict. If anything, it produces healthy conflict. Now, I'm not going to have a problem with Pastor Johnny. I said, man, can you believe what Johnny did? Blah, 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 blah. Now I'm going to say, hey, man, can I have 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Listen, this happened. I may have even viewed this wrong. Let's talk through it. I'm in a tough place. And now conflict's still there. The issue's still there. But we're able to have a healthy conversation. And as it flows from the head down, as Pastor has done this, now hard conversations become easier, because hard conversations are inevitable, right? They're inevitable. But Pastor Sam, I like it from your perspective in worship. Worship is when we all see. It's one where you have so many talented people assembled in one group, all of them unique personalities. How do you maintain this culture of honor in an arena where it's typically, historically in other places, a self-serving type place, for lack of a better words?
So you're talking about honor to pastor, or just honor in general?
The culture of honor.
I do my best to honor, and that's my leadership. I honor pastor. I honor you guys. I honor the staff. I honor the leadership of our church. I don't allow people to talk negatively about stuff. I don't put up with a lot of complaining and stuff like that. That just doesn't happen. If you've got a question or you want to know something, I'd be glad to ask. We don't do, these private conversations where I found out that you were talking about this to somebody. No, if you have a question, come ask somebody who knows the answer. We don't do gossip, and that's just church-wide, but that's, our team. Like, I'm responsible for maintaining that within my team. And so I talk about all that stuff within my first course with every new volunteer. And these are who we are. And so they come in with these expectations. And I've even had people that have gone through the class that said, hey, like, so-and-so said this, but I know that's not okay, so I just wanted you to know, you know? And so they help me maintain the culture of honor. But I feel like you have to be very clear with your communication and the expectation that you have for honor. And so for me, like, I really appreciate when people call me Pastor Simeon, but I really could care less as long as you call Pastor Jamie Pastor Jamie.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. Like if as long as you're honoring my leadership, like I'm fine. Like I'm good. Like, it's on you whether or not you honor me in that way, but I'm going to make sure that you're honoring my leadership and my pastor, and that's a non-negotiable. And I'm very upfront with that, and then, I'm very quick to correct when that kind of stuff comes up. And if I catch somebody saying, pastor by his first name and his first name only, first of all, it makes me want to throw up. Yeah. But secondly, you're talking about Pastor Jamie?
Yeah.
I don't know Jamie.
Yeah.
I don't know him. Angie taught me that one. I don't know. I don't know Jamie. Who, Pastor Jamie, or are you talking about another Jamie? I don't
Yeah.
know another Jamie.
I think it was
But
Rachel gave us. You just start going through all the Jamies, you know. You
yeah,
mean
yeah,
James?
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I'm very quick to correct. And we've had, pastors corrected me at times um, in moments to where something he felt disrespected, or
Yeah.
something by something the team did or didn't do or whatever.
Mhm.
And I've gone back and had conversations, and hey, like, didn't run through this morning when pastor was talking, none of y'all was paying attention, and he was talking to you, and
Yeah.
you thought he was talking to somebody else, but because you weren't paying attention, you didn't know.
Mhm.
And it was, a learning moment. Hey, just be tuned in. It wasn't a big deal. Pastor didn't make it a big deal, but it was important. And it was a moment that I made sure that I honored him by going
Mhm.
back and saying, hey, like, right here, we need to fix that.
Yep.
For
So
sure,
I'm
man.
I'm quick to make pivots.
Something we had to fight for, man. It's
Yeah.
something we had to fight for, man. We're rounding up to the end of the podcast here, but as we kind of dismount here, for a pastor that's trying to create a culture of honor in ministry, starting at square one, what's one piece of advice you'd give him?
One piece of advice I would give you. I mean, this is bad. This is bad viewing right now. I understand that, but I mean, I feel like this is such. I don't want to just
What's
say
that Jamie
any.
do? Hey, go. You gotta
Yeah,
come up
yeah,
here.
yeah. No, I don't want to just. I don't want to say anything right now. I think if we're talking about like a pastor who wanting is to create a culture of honor because he sees there's a lack of it
Mhm.
inside of ministry, then it's to me it's not a Bible study. To me, um, it's not a you know a sermon that you're preaching. I think you know there's there probably needs to be some honor that they need to see in you, a culture that you're cultivating that way. I mean, I know it's important to bring people in. We do it all the time. We have you know, a moment where we bring people in. Even we talk about leadership development and stuff
Mhm.
like that. It can be curated that way, but I think showing that honor, being intentional in how you're doing things like that. I think that's a piece of it. I don't know if it's the piece of it. I really don't know in this moment,
For sure.
but I think people will start honoring you because of they see the value in you and your relationship when you have that relationship with them where you honor them and celebrate them and
Yeah.
in their moments. As backwards as that may sound,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Pastor
Could be wrong.
speak to the right hand people, man. The people, that for a while it was just the three of you. You and Pastor Tony, and so if there's a staff member out there that's just them and their pastor, they're grinding out. How do you help them help cultivate the honor of their pastor?
Yeah, I preached a sermon a few years ago, and in that sermon, I used a phrase. I don't know who said it first. It wasn't me. I got it from somebody, but I don't know who it
Chat
was.
GBT.
Yeah, it was. It was before
Before that time.
ChatGPT. It was about 6 years ago or so. But in the sermon, I talked about honor up, honor down, honor all around.
Yeah.
And if you're a staff member on a church, you first have to honor up, and that's not just you've got to honor God.
Amen.
You got to honor the King of Kings, the person who's ordained you to be in the role that
That's
you're
good.
in. You have to honor your pastor and the person who you're serving, and the person that God's placed there. And I truly, like, if we didn't think that God placed Pastor Jamie here, like, it would be more difficult to honor.
Mhm.
It would take away that moment of, or that topic that we talked about earlier, where we honor him because God's placed him in this position.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
also honor him because he's earned honor in our life. He's earned that. Like, we
Right.
give it to him, but
It's biblical.
it's biblical.
Yeah.
God's placed that pastor there. Honor them because of that. And then honor the fellow staff. Honor them by the way you talk about them in front of other people, and then honor the people that you serve with.
Mhm.
And when you are honor and you operate in honor, it will allow others to see that, and people will honor you for honoring them, and then they'll honor who you honor.
Yeah.
And when I expect that the people that serve with me are going to honor the people that I honor, and
Absolutely.
I hope that they see that, and I hope that they replicate that. And if you're on staff somewhere and you want, people to honor your pastor, then you need to honor him, and you need to make it like sickening, like Johnny said the other
Yeah,
day
Ooh and
about
goo.
something like ooh and goo. Like
that's right.
you can't go too far.
Yeah,
You can.
I
I mean,
mean,
let's
yeah,
be
yeah,
honest,
yeah,
but
yeah, 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 yeah. I agree. I agree. I think it's a good conversation. This is a biblical concept. God has anointed this individual to lead our ministry, and if God, Paul says, "Be a follower of me as I'm a follower of Christ." I'm trusting he's following
yeah.
Christ. The oil flows from the head down. So if it just
100%.
like the oil flows, honor should flow. And so as he's doing the assignment on his life that God's equipped and called him to, because he carries weight. He's got to answer for things I'll never answer for.
Yeah,
There's
100%.
something that is supernaturally attached to that. Is a whole nother conversation. But if that's the case, when I honor him, people see that honor, and it just flows down. It just flows out of who we are. Such a beautiful concept. And I would say the same thing, just kind of pivoting back to what I said earlier. Man, it starts with you. It's something you got to fight for. It's something you got to fight for in yourself. It is a pride thing at times. Tear that wall down. Ask the Lord to reveal it, even if you don't know it's there, and fight for it in your ministry, on your church, on your teams. You are the culture setter. It flows out of you. People are listening to what you're saying. They're listening to how you address everything.
Yeah.
If you look at another ministry's Facebook post, they're listening to how you respond to it. And these are things that we can all take in and be better at, so that we can help produce this healthy culture in our
Yeah.
ministries. But we miss you, Pastor Jamie. We love you. We honor you, right, guys? All that good stuff. And hope he'll be back next week. So, the good man will be back. So it'll be better content. But we love you guys. Ministry's hard. Have a good week. Peace out.